doing? John, good to see you.
Good to see you all, too. Before I take questions today, I just wanted to start by acknowledging all the people that played a part in the draft that just happened this weekend. So first and foremost, our scouts who do an awesome job, our college guys who spend so much time away from their families. And I want to name them by name because I think it's important that people know who they are. So Kiefer, Hardy, Spire, Antoine Murray, Caesar, B-Mac, Mark Ellenson, Donovan. These guys spend so much time away from their families, traveling the country. It's a big sacrifice they make. They signed up for it. It's a job they got to do, but it's not lost on the amount of time that they give up and give to this organization to do a good job. Our pro scouts, Shane, Alex, and Sean Conley, who do a great job kind of backfilling and finding, we call them ghost guys that crush pro days in the combine and kind of like be a final look at all of them. Our scouting assistants, Shannon, Peyton, Corey, and Emmett, who run millions of projects for us and reports and build POAs for us. They were still doing POAs today so we could line up free agency, which is going on upstairs right now. Obviously, Greeny and Jackie that help with everything upstairs. And then, a big shout out to Bobby Slater and all his guys for going through so many medical reports, helping us understand the risks that we might take, the guys that are clean, so we're not surprised when we sign them. And then Shelton Corals and Spencer Dill, who do a tremendous job supporting us. And then, Rob McCartney, who's taken on a bigger role in college this year. It was great to have him involved. And then to me, the rock star of it all, Mike Beal, who makes it all go, organizes everything with the college scouts. He does a great job. People don't talk about his name enough, so appreciate him. And the last part I want to say is the coaches. Working with them was a pleasure this year. It always is a pleasure, but kind of sharing a vision with them, understanding what they're looking for, them trusting us to do it, was really cool. And a couple numbers. Greg, I know you're a numbers guy. All of this, we draft 9 guys. We're signing 20 more right now. Our guys wrote 3,352 reports on 1,426 players. So I don't know. Sometimes that's overkill, but maybe it's being thorough and doing a great job. And we're excited about the guys that we selected the last 3 days, and time will tell how they do. But I just wanted to acknowledge all the work those people do. They don't get their names said enough, and I hope people can appreciate when they look out there and see the team this fall, the amount of work our guys and girls put in upstairs. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have on our guys.
John, you guys wanted to get faster this year. That was a stated goal by Jason and Todd in their media appearances. You certainly did that this year. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. Just talk about adding team speed on both sides of the ball for you guys.
Well, I mean, Todd obviously said that. I just, and that was always a BA moniker too. I mean, speed kills, speed. But at the end of the day, they got to be good football players too. We're not just going to draft guys that run fast but can't play the game of sports. Like the combine is helpful for some of that stuff. But yeah, I think we turned in a lot of guys that ran good 40 times. When you turn on the film and watch the film, and I know you have, they play fast too. So, one of the many things we look for, but was a priority this year, and we feel good about what we did from that standpoint.
You guys are implementing a new offense under Coach Canales. Just how important was it for you guys to be able to get some pieces for him? Obviously getting a tight end with tremendous red zone production, and I know they did a lot of 2 tight end sets in Seattle this past year, and being able to get a deep threat at receiver, just a guard as well. I know they're going to be doing kind of that wide zone blocking, just kind of getting some of those pieces to help him, implement his system.
Yeah, it was really fun working with Dave and his new staff. They were really thorough and described the players they were looking for really, really well, which is such a valuable thing for the scout. It doesn't leave us guessing out there. And the back and forth we had with them in a good way was a lot of fun. And, at the end of the day, he came in and, was super excited for all the guys we picked. I'm sure that's going to shock all of you because he's a pretty high-energy guy, but I don't know. I'll take it. He came in, was jacked up for all the picks, and so I feel like we did a good job so far.
Is there concern at all at tackle? Jason said there wasn't on his part, but you do have a lot of guards, but it's a little more thin. It's a little thinner at tackle.
It just sometimes doesn't go the way you want. I mean, we all would have loved to add tackles, but I don't want to lose enough games every year to be up there where those tackles typically go. So, we got guys we feel good with. We got guys that we know compete. Filer's been out there before. Luke did a good job there last year. Tristan's obviously one of the best there is. Brandon Walton's played out there, played in a pinch, and week 2 against the Saints last year against some good players. And so, would we love to? Sure, I think we would have loved to. But at the same time, we're not going to force players around here. That that is I think the worst thing to do. You know, you end up taking a guy in 2 that you've got 4th round grades on, and then he walks through your door, and you go, yeah, he's a 4th round pick, and we missed all these other guys. So,
John, I don't know if you do this, but it seems like there's a lot of close connections between your draft picks. You got 2 teammates from Pitt. Cody won national titles with Josh, and Cody got to know Payne in Mobile, where it just seems like a tight-knit group before they even get here. Is that something you're aware of, or something that helps at all?
well, I would think we were aware of that. I would say like the fact that we took all of them was purely coincidental. You know, I know it's a great story that, you know, Josh and Jose are from down the road, and, you know, Cody and Josh played together, which is kind of an interesting tie. You know, I don't know. We just tried to draft good players that were good kids, and I think we've done that. You know, I think it's cool when a couple of them are from, I don't know, 50 miles from here, and their families are screaming in the background when Jason's on the phone with them. And, you know, I think it was Jose who said, "Are you serious?" And Jason was like, "Yeah, I'm serious. You know, you're coming to the Bucs." So, yeah, it's cool.
His dad even had a Bucs jersey on right then and there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean,
A
we've
custom Bucs jersey.
well, we got a lot more Bucs fans now than we did probably 5 years ago. So I'm glad he had a Bucs jersey on, and his dad doesn't have to change allegiances.
Oh, no, his dad was a St. Pete native.
Yeah, great.
It was a true fan.
What's your take on Josh Hayes? Not a lot of Buck fans may be familiar with Kansas State or North Dakota State, but what did you see on tape from John?
Yeah, we just, you know, they had a lot of good players in that defense this year, and they were a good team. And so, you know, I think with that, you got to open your eyes to all the players that are on there. And we just kept seeing a player that would compete. He just competed. They played him at nickel. They played him at safety. He could cover. And to me, like when you look for DBs, people don't give enough, I don't think, enough. Tackling is really important. Like, we got to get guys on the ground, and he's unafraid to come up and put his face on people and cut people down. And he plays with a great energy and a great, you know, joy there's a lot of joy watching his game, and kind of just jumped off the tape. And, you know, whether or not people were high on him or knew about him or was off the radar, I mean, he came out here to our local day and worked. You know, a lot of the kids that play at those big programs, they just want to come in and talk to the coaches. He was excited to come out and work, and he showed up well. He looked quick and fast and twitchy, and, you know, we had a good meeting with him when he was here, so it was a great visit for him. It was a smart move for him to come work out for us because it helped us draft him in the 6th this year.
Do you have any idea where he'll line up for you guys? 'Cause I know he's lined up in a bunch of different
Yeah.
places in the backfield.
Yeah, I think the idea is probably try him at nickel first. You know, Todd's excited about him at nickel, thought he was a great fit there for what we're looking for, tackling, blitzing. I mean, he does all that really well. And then, you know, safety is always something that they can go play too. And I think guys have probably all seen, like, a lot of our nickels, Antoine, Mike Edwards, those guys have played nickel for us before. They were safety but came down and played nickel. I think this might be the opposite. He's a nickel that maybe can go back and play safety, but he also ran 4.48, so we may try him on the outside too.
Is Yaya Darby more than just a speed rusher, edge rusher? I mean, what'd you see about his game that makes you think he can fit in?
Yeah, I think he's a lot more than that. I mean, the 4.52 I think jumps off the tape, but to me the first thing you notice about him is the relentlessness that he plays with. I mean, guys that are pass rushers that run 4.52, if they're not going to chase people into the open field, you're just never going to feel that speed. But I don't know, there's a play, and it's shown up on some of the highlights where he's on the left and he kind of dips inside, and then it's against Florida State, and I think it's 21 is trying to run a reverse, and he bends and runs the guy down and tackles him before he could turn the edge. Like, you don't see that a lot, and it starts with the fact that he's willing to give the effort to put himself in that position to make the tackle. And because he is, then you're like, well, he can really run too. And then you watch him over and over again. He plays, 100 miles an hour every play, and plays with a passion and an energy that a lot of the great pass rushers have. He's got lots of technique work to work on, and but he loves ball. He's been through a lot of adversity. He's gone through a lot of things to even get here. He showed you he's loved football, and he just happens to run 4.52 as well, which is, I don't know, pretty cool. Todd's excited about that.
You said you didn't want to reach, right? You never do for any position. But I mean, tackle is one, Donovan Smith is not here, and you're talking about maybe Tristan, I'm sure is capable of moving to the left side. Only saw Luke really good game at right tackle. Were you guys that impressed, sure of the fact that Luke can be a right tackle? I know you've got other guys in Brandon Walton and guys that compete, but in general, like, hey, when you go into the draft, you're not like, man, we need a tackle. Like, you didn't feel that way. The urgency maybe that other people might have felt.
I felt like we wanted a tackle, but I mean, you just can't get everything you want in the draft,
Yeah.
And unless you want to lose a bunch of games every year, and then you can pick in the top 5 and pick kind of whoever you want. So we have a great process. We take in everything into account, the character of the kid, the film, the position of value. I mean, less a position of need, but position of value, and we try to rank it that way, and we try to stick to it. And especially early in the draft, we're going to stick to it because our experience, Jason's experience, would suggest when you don't stick to that, you regret it ultimately. You may get lucky, you may catch a one-off, and it worked out. But, I think we saw Luke play right tackle in an NFL game. We saw Luke play right tackle, in Baton Rouge against some really good edge rushers in college. Am I betting my house that he's going to be great at it? I mean, wouldn't bet my house on anything probably. But I know he'll go out there compete. He's done it at a good level. He's going to give it everything he's got, and we've got Filer. Like I said, we've got Walton, we've got options, and we've got one of the best there is too, which most people can't say.
Yeah, a little bit more of a linear pass rusher. Jose's got, I would say, probably more flexibility in his hips and his ankles. Did that factor in that they had complementary skill sets and can kind of round out your edge room?
I don't know if it was. We looked at it as complementary. I just think we liked the dimension that Yaya brought. I actually think he is pretty loose in his hips.
Really?
He's a bigger man than Jose is, and Jose just has a feel to rush the passer, which the more you watch, the more you appreciate. He just ends up around the quarterback a lot. Now, I'm not comparing him to Shaq Barrett, but if I was, I would say when I watched Shaq Barrett win the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year when I was a scout for Denver, he just grew on you and grew on you and grew on you the more you watched him because he was around the quarterback all the time. They both were their conference defensive players of the year. They both are undersized. So again, I'm not saying he is, but he reminds you of some of the things that Shaq did, which was just, Shaq's not a Von Miller athlete or anything like that or a Myles Garrett, but he's highly rated in pressures throughout the last 4 or 5 seasons. And I'm not saying Jose's going to be, but in college he was.
At the end of the season, Todd said that this was the first year that he's never had an outside linebacker lead his 3-4 defense in sacks. And I assume he didn't want that to happen again. You can never have enough good pass rushers, right? Isn't that kind of what
Correct.
last year proved?
Yeah.
And that's why maybe flooding the position here with a couple of edge rushers?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me in my career, it's been proven that if you can affect quarterbacks, however you do it, at a high level, you've got a chance. I'm fortunate enough to have won, I told Jason this the other day, I'm fortunate enough to have won 2 Super Bowls in my career, and both times was because we couldn't stop hitting quarterbacks in the playoffs. We just were relentless after them. You go back and watch the Denver playoff games, like Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware could not be stopped, Malik Jackson could not be stopped. You go back to what we did a couple years ago, I think people know what happened. So, again, we weren't going to force it, but Yaya fell to us. We were excited about it. And then, to add another one that has been as productive and a quality, like the MAC is a quality football conference. They play good football there. And he won the Defensive Player of the Year and is around the quarterback all the time. And the more you can affect those great quarterbacks, the better. It's easier to affect the quarterback than it is for our guys to cover forever.
Payne Durham, 21 touchdowns. That's a lot for a tight
Yeah.
end in college. What did you like about his tape? He made some spectacular catches in college, also at the Senior Bowl, going up and getting it in the red zone. Yeah,
he's a smart player. He's a high-effort player. He's obviously tall. He's long. He's got great hands. He's not the fastest. I think the 40 time shows that. So I think what you look for when you get guys like that is they're going to be covered. They're going to be forced to make contested catches, and he proved that to us over and over again, which is why he's a good red zone target because the field gets small down there. You're not going to catch a lot of wide open passes, so you've got to find a way or have a knack for making those plays with guys hanging all over you or hand in your face, and he has the size, length, and the ball skills to do that, and it shows up with the 21 touchdown catches.
You talked about getting to the quarterback. A big part of that is not just coming off the edge, but the guys inside. Can you just talk about scouting Calijah and just kind of what you saw in him and just kind of your thoughts on bringing him in?
Yeah, he was a really fun player in the fall. He's a great fun player to watch when you're a scout, and then you kind of get done with it and you're like, that was awesome. The energy he plays with, how disruptive he is, the effort he gives play after play, how athletic he is. Oh boy, he's 6 foot, 275 pounds, or we just have a guess on what he is at the time. And so you kind of mark it and be like, all right, well, if our coaches will like him, then we've got a player here. So we obviously had great meetings with Todd and his staff, and they were like, oh, we got a great plan for him. We love this kid. And so that kind of all brings it together. And, you know, it's hard to find inside pass rushers in this league. It's really hard. Todd's been after a 3 technique that, like Calijah, that can really run for a long time. I'm sure he would prefer that Calijah was 310 pounds or something like that. But at the same time, he's undeterred, and him, Casey, and Coach Foote are undeterred by his size. And so really after a lot of talk and a lot of evaluation, we weren't so much concerned about his size. It was more about what he can do. And he did it at an extremely high level for years at Pitt. And, you know, we kind of love the kid, the story. You know, he's been kind of counted out or underappreciated for his entire career, and he just keeps proving people wrong. And I think that probably stood out yesterday. And I think the thing that I enjoyed the most about him yesterday was, at least when I was standing back there watching him do his press conference, was how much he loves the game and how much it means to him. And, you know, we've made it a point to try to add kids like that. I think we did it again this year. And we love when our first-round pick is one of the best, if not the best example of that in the class.
Adding Payne, does that allow the team to maybe use Cade in more of a move tight end type of role, or do you still see both as versatile and that they can do both?
Yeah, I think we see them both versatile. I think it was a great tight end class. We had a lot of guys we really liked, and I think we were fortunate that Payne got to where he got. He's a bigger-bodied guy, so some of the thought is maybe Payne can take some of those reps on the line. Cade can be the move guy a little bit more, but you know, we're going to ask Cade to play in 11 personnel and play on the ball and block defensive ends and linebackers too. And, you know, we'll have a nice rotation between all those guys, and Cole will be in there too. And we'll see how it shakes itself out. But we're just excited to add a good football player that we think is a really good competitive kid too.
On the day when we talk about speed, the fastest is probably Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to say, you only have 5 receivers on your roster, so there's an opportunity there. Just what his speed and his ability to stretch the field brings to that group now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at kind of the way Seattle's been built the last couple of years, they've had guys like that. You know, they had Marquise Goodwin last year. They drafted Dwayne Eskridge the year before that. Obviously, DK can run. Tyler Lockett can run. And so that was something that we talked a lot about with Dave and Brad Idzig and all the coaches. And, you know, you see the 4-3-4, okay, well, that's nice, but then he put it to work. You know, I think he had the most, or 3 70-plus yard touchdowns this year, which was maybe the most in FBS. I think I heard that on TV. He had over 1,000 yards, you know, at a school that, you know, doesn't always throw the ball a ton. So came from LSU, where didn't quite get on the field, but I don't know if anyone's put out better wide receivers than LSU. I guess maybe Ohio State has, as much as that pains me to say, but LSU. So I know he ran 4.34, and he's got real speed, and you can feel it, and he makes plays down the field. And when he walks on the field, defenses got to know that, and they got to account for it. So.
Do you have to project that he's a returner, or you know he is because he did it at LSU? Because some of these guys, you're just hoping they.
Yeah, well, the college return game is tough now. I mean, the kickoff's kind of been eliminated in college, and with the rugby punt, the punt return's almost been eliminated. So, you know, listen, we like DT. I think DT did a really good job last year in his limited reps as the returner. We're excited about what he might do, but this brings more competition, and you know, nothing's been promised to anybody this year, and this is another guy that'll be back there trying to do it, and we'll push DT if nothing else.
Speaking of Payne, we talk about the big playability and everything, but he's also been really, really productive from the slot too. Do you guys have an idea where you kind of envision him going, or more so just moving him around?
I mean, I think we'll take it as it goes when he comes here. You know, I mean, if we can get him matched up on small linebackers and DBs, like, you know, he's an issue because he's just so much bigger and longer than them. But, you know, we'll figure it out when he gets here.
You got 6 receivers on the roster now with the addition of.
We got some more, but you just don't know who they are yet.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Greg probably does, but you don't.
It's probably an undrafted free agent heavy position for you.
Yeah.
And you guys have had success there. DT and Geiger last
Yep.
year, back in the day, you know, at Humphreys. You know, is that a position that typically can lend itself to really finding some gems there that have the ability to stick on the roster?
I think so, just because so many colleges are playing with 3 and 4 wide receiver sets all the time now. So there's just a lot more of them that have played a lot more football now. And, you know, the reality is every year there's an average that gets drafted. It's not as high as I think people think it is, which means there's more guys that are left after the draft for you to have a chance to sign. And if you can sift through those, like our college scouts are doing right now, and they do a great job of it, you can find guys that can play. So hopefully they're doing that upstairs right now. I think they are. We were rolling pretty good when I left. So.
With Trey, you had mentioned there are a lot of guys who have a lot of speed these days. but he's able to do a lot downfield. Can you talk just a little bit about what you guys saw in his ball tracking ability and how that played into him being able to make so many plays downfield?
Yeah, I mean, that's a unique talent. I mean, the best I ever was around was Deshaun Jackson. I mean, it was at an elite level that I think people can't really comprehend for him to know exactly where to get to. And I'm not putting this, Trey's got a long way to go to be Deshaun Jackson. I hope he gets there one day. But he's got a sense when he gets vertical and he gets running on people, finding the ball down the field, especially when he gets past people. And it's a harder thing, I think, to do than most people realize. And it's a thing that you can improve, but I also think it's kind of in you. And the fact that we saw him have all these long touchdowns and have the success when he's running full speed down the field shows you that he can do it. And, he's proven that with the stats that he has.
Jason talked about you guys having so much fun watching Cody on tape. What were your reactions in watching him, not just with his play, but also his antics after the play?
I was less concerned with the antics. I was more concerned with the play. We were laughing like, he brought us a lot of joy to watch him play. It was a kid that you knew loved to play, the energy he played with, the passion he played with, the way he played the game makes sense to him. It's just, you can always coach guys to get better. You can always, make them play a little harder or play a little smarter, but he is pretty elite in a lot of those traits. Now, he's got things he's got to work on to get better too, otherwise he would have been a top 5 pick and we wouldn't have been able to get him. But he brought us a lot of joy watching him play, and we laughed about it a couple of weeks ago when we watched him for the final time and kind of cemented his place on our draft board. And, I think most people can see that. We've watched his highlights and the clips that North Dakota State's put out on him, and it's been a lot of fun.
Brought us a lot of joy talking to him yesterday,
Yeah,
too.
no question. Unique guy.
Bad day, did you just put in the South Dakota tape just for fun?
Oh, you can put it on any of his tape. He's doing it week in and week out, which is what you love.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thanks so much, John.
You guys got it. Good to see y'all.